She's not sick. She's not unhealthy. She doesn't smoke. She drinks water. She exercises 3 times a week. And she does everything right. And yet, something changed while she was not looking. She will spend the next 6 months buying serums, trying creams, reading articles at midnight about collagen and elastin and retinol. She will spend real money. She will follow the instruction carefully. The global skincare industry is worth over $180 billion. And the one thing it has never been able to prove is that it works on the actual cause of aging. And nothing will change. Because she was treating the wrong liar. I'm Dr. Max, and today we are going inside the face, not the surface, not the skin, not the product. We are going all the way down through every layer to where the aging actually begins. What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you look in the mirror for the rest of your life. The beauty industry builds its entire empire on one assumption. That the face is a skin problem, that aging happens on the surface, that the answer lives in a jar, that if you find the right molecule, the right formula, you can reverse what time has done. Here is what the label doesn't show you. Your face has 4 distinct layers, and they all aged simultaneously, but for completely different reasons. The skin. That is the layer everyone focuses on. But underneath the skin, fascia, a web of connective tissue that holds everything in position. When it loosens, everything it was holding drops. Under the fascia, muscle. Multiple layers of muscle that gives the face its shape, its structure, its definition. When they weaken, the architecture collapses. And under all of it, bone. Your facial skeleton, the actual bone structure beneath your face, is not static. It reshapes continuously throughout your life. The eye sockets widen, the jaw narrows, the midface flattens. And as the bone changes shape, everything about it follows. No serum reaches the bone, no cream rebuilds the fascia. No typical treatment strengthens the muscle. And here's the part that should make you stop and think. The companies that make these products have access to the same research we do. The anatomy is not hidden. The layers are not a secret. It is just commercially inconvenient to acknowledge that their products cannot reach them. She was not treating the wrong problem. She was treating the right problem in the wrong place. Now, if the damage is happening in the bone, the muscle, and the fascia, the real question is not what cream to use. The real question is, what is causing all 3 layers to break down in the first place? And the answer involves something the beauty industry cannot bottle, cannot patent, and cannot sell. The second reason, the one that is purely structural, involves a muscle most people have never once deliberately used in their entire lives. We are going to find it. Out of every part of your body, your face aged first. Not your knees, not your joints, not your hands, your face. And when you understand why, you will realize that what is happening on your face is a result of what has been happening inside your body for years. Researchers once showed strangers photographs of identical twins. The twin who had experienced more chronic stress was consistently rated as looking an average of 4 years older. Despite sharing the exact same DNA, same genetics, same baseline biology. Different internal environment, different face. Here is the science that most dermatologists do not have time to explain in a 15-minute appointment. Your face is the most hormonally sensitive region of your entire body. The concentration of stress hormone receptors in facial tissue is significantly higher here than almost anywhere else. Researchers believe this is partly evolutionary. Your face is your primary emotional communication device. It broadcasts your internal state to everyone around you. And for that system to work with precision, it needs to be exquisitely sensitive to your internal chemistry. Which means, when your internal chemistry changes, your face is the first to receive the signal. And the hormone doing the most damage is one you already know by name. Cortisol is not a villain. In the right amounts, at the right moments, it is essential to your survival. It wakes you up in the morning, it sharpens your focus under pressure. It mobilizes energy when you need it most. But here is what your doctor will almost never tell you. Chronic low-grade cortisol elevation is largely invisible on a standard blood panel. You can have completely normal lab results and still be biochemically dismantling your facial structure every single day. The test that would be catch it is almost never ordered, and most people walk away from a checkup thinking they are fine. Here is what elevated cortisol actually does. At the tissue level, over years, it breaks down collagen, the structural protein that keeps skin firm, connective tissue strong, and fascia taut. Research has shown that chronic cortisol exposure directly suppresses collagen synthesis in facial tissue. The body stops building and it starts breaking. It disrupts fat distribution in the face, creating what clinicians sometimes call cortisol-related facial change. Puffiness in some areas, hollowing in others. The face loses its natural architecture. It accelerates bone resorption in the facial skeleton, meaning the underlying structure that everything else rests on becomes less dense, less defined, less able to support what sits above it. And it attacks the fascia, the connective tissue web that holds the entire structure in position. When the fascia loses tension, every single thing drops. The face doesn't lie. It keeps a record of everything, every sleepless night, every chronic worry, every year of unresolved tension held in the jaw, the neck, the muscles underneath the skin. Cortisol is not primarily triggered by events. It is triggered by perception. By the continuous, low-grade assessment that your nervous system runs scanning every moment for threat. And the modern world is designed almost perfectly to keep the scanner running. In the ancient world, cortisol was followed by movement, by running, by the physical discharge of the chemical it created. The cortisol was produced, used, and cleared. In the modern world, you see it. Your ancestors ran from predators. You see it in the traffic. The cortisol produced is chemically identical, but the predator eventually stopped chasing. Your inbox never does. You process the stress entirely inside your mind. Nothing physical happens. The cortisol has nowhere to go. It stays in the bloodstream, circulating, continuing its work on the tissue most sensitive to it. Your face. The cortisol side, the hormonal destruction, is one of half this three, but there is a second mechanism, completely different, operating through a completely different pathway. And this one, almost nobody in the wellness world is talking about. Not because it is unknown, because fixing it does not require buying anything. There's a muscle in your body that most people have never heard of by name, but whose deterioration is responsible for most of the visible aging in the lower face and neck. That muscle is called platysma. It is a thin, flat muscle that runs from your collarbone all the way up to your jawline. It covers the entire front of the neck. It connects the lower face to the upper chest. It is one of the largest surface muscles in the neck and yet one of the most neglected in the entire history of exercise science. Most plastic surgeons charge between $8,000 and $15,000 to surgically tighten this muscle and the tissue around it. The procedure is called a platysmoplasty. What I'm about to show you targets the same muscle through training, not surgery, for the cost of nothing. And when the platysma weakens, it drops. That loose, soft area under the chin, that vertical banding along the neck, the loss of definition where the jaw meets the throat, the heaviness in the lower face that no cream seems to lift. Almost all of it. The platysma. Now, here is a piece of anatomy that changes every single thing about how this muscle should be treated. The platysma is composed predominantly of fast-twitch muscle fibers, type 2 fibers, explosive fibers, the kind of fiber designed for maximum power in minimum time, the kind used in sprinting, in jumping, in sudden emergency reactions. Look at what movements naturally active the platysma: smiling explosively, gasping, laughing, reacting in shock. All of them are rapid, all of them are sudden, and all of them over in a fraction of a second. This muscle was never designed for slow, sustained tension. It was designed for explosive bursts. Which means every neck stretch you have ever done for this problem was training the wrong fiber type entirely. Slow, sustained stretches do not recreate fast-twitch fibers. They never will. In fact, for an already weakened platysma, prolonged stretching may actively work against the goal. You were not helping the muscle, you were ignoring it and wondering why it kept dropping. But before I show you how to train it correctly, I need to take you back 10,000 years. Because the second structural problem, the one involving your jaw, didn't begin recently. It began the moment we changed what we ate. Go back to 10,000 years. Before supermarkets, before processing, before the modern food system turned the act of eating into something that requires almost no physical effort at all, people ate food that required real work to chew, tough, fibrous meat. Dense vegetables, hard seeds, foods that the jaw had to work against. Rapidly, forcefully, for every single meal throughout an entire lifetime. And all of that chewing built a face. This is called Wolff's Law. Bone responds to mechanical stress by becoming stronger and denser. Remove the stress, and the bone begins to resorb, to thin, to reshape. The jaw of your ancestors was not genetically different from yours. It was mechanically stressed every single day for a lifetime. Researchers studying skeletal remains from before and after the agricultural revolution found measurably reduced jaw density and definition in post-agricultural skull, not because of genetics, but because of what people stopped eating. The structural change appeared with a single generation. One generation of softer food, one generation of reduced jaw stimulus, and the face began to change. Now, look at what we eat. Everything is soft, everything is engineered, often deliberately, to require as little chewing resistance as possible. Bread that dissolves, meat so tender it falls apart, snacks designed to melt at body temperature. The jaw muscles, the masseter, the temporalis, the medial and lateral pterygoids, get almost no meaningful stimulus from a modern diet. They weaken, they thin, the tension they use to exert on the facial bone structure continuously, daily, for decades disappears. And the face responds to that absence. Your diet didn't just affect your weight, your diet changed the physical shape of your face. Two mechanisms operating simultaneously in most people's face for decades. Cortisol, dissolving the structure from the inside, and the next one is disuse, letting the structure collapses from the outside. Both invisible, both gradual, both entirely below the surface layer that the beauty industry has been treating. Before we get to the protocol, I need to show you one more thing, because there is a third factor, invisible, hormonal, operating simultaneously that will actively undermine every single thing I am about to show you if you don't address it first. And almost everyone who tries facial exercises runs into this problem and never understands why it happens. Here is a pattern that happens constantly. Someone discovers facial exercises. They learn about the Platysma, they read about jaw training, they try it for 3 days. They see nothing and they stop, and they conclude that it doesn't work. Day 4 is exactly when the biology is most active. The soreness, the fatigue, that is not damage, that is the muscle recreating new motor units. Neural pathways that have been dormant for years are reactivating. Stopping on day 4 is like planting a seed, watering it twice, and digging it up to check if it's growing. The platysma is predominantly fast-twitch fiber. Type 2 fibers have a specific and well-documented adaptation timeline. They fatigue quickly, which is correct. They are sore after the first sessions, which is correct. But visible structural changes in fast-twitch fibers typically require consistent stimulus over a minimum of 14 to 21 days before the adaptation becomes extremely visible. And most people stop on day 4. What is happening in those first 3 weeks? Beneath the surface is structural. Muscle fibers are being stimulated for the first time in years. Neural connections are being rebuilt. The motor units governing the platysma are reactivating. The bone is receiving mechanical signals it has not received in a long time. None of this is visible yet, but it is happening. And then, somewhere between week 2 and week 4, something shifts. The jawline begins to redefine. The neck tightens, the lower face lifts slightly. Not dramatically, not artificially, but structurally. The way a building looks after its foundation has been repaired. Not a surface change, a structural one. But there is one more variable. The one that determines whether any of these works, or whether you spend months doing the right exercises and seeing only partial results. If your cortisol stays chronically elevated, it will dismantle at the hormonal level. What the exercises are building at the structural level, the two sides of this equation cannot be separated. Training the muscles without addressing the cortisol is like rebuilding a wall while the foundation continues to erode. The protocol addresses both sides simultaneously, and that is what makes it work where everything else stalls. Now let's talk about the protocols. 3 exercises, 2 sides of the same intervention. A specific, targeted, designed for the exact muscle fiber types involved. Don't substitute, don't modify the technique. Exercise 1. The Platysma pulse. This is the exercise most people will not want to do in public. It looks unusual, but its effectiveness is directly proportional to how precisely you execute the technique. You are going to perform rapid, explosive contractions of the platysma, the muscle running from your collarbone to your jawline. Fast, sharp, repeated pulses. 10 to 15 contractions per each set. 3 sets, several times per week. The movement lives entirely in the contraction, not the stretch. We are training fast twitch fibers. Fast in, fast out. No slow holds, no sustained tension. Pure explosive recruitment. Your muscles will fatigue surprisingly quickly. After just 2 or 3 sets, you will feel the muscle working. It may feel sore the next day. Both responses are correct. They are proof that fast twitch fibers, dormant in most people for years, are finally being activated. Within 2 to 3 weeks of consistent practice, several times per week without skipping, most people begin to notice a structural tightening along the jawline and neck. Not surface tightening, muscular tightening. The architecture starting to return. Exercise 2. Jaw resistance opening. Place your hand firmly under your chin. Apply steady upward resistance and now slowly and deliberately open your mouth against that resistance. You are providing the resistance manually. Your jaw works against your own hand. The muscles involved, the digastric, the mylohyoid, the geniohyoid, are the muscles of the jaw floor that were trained for most of human history by chewing tough, fibrous food, and that have been almost entirely unstimulated by the modern diet. This exercise does something that chewing used to do automatically. It applies mechanical stress to the jawbone, and bone, as Wolff's law tells us, responds to mechanical stress by maintaining its density by staying defined by refusing to thin. You are not just exercising a muscle, you are giving your bone a reason to stay strong. The repetition, 3 sets, 30 seconds, rest between sets, several times per week. Exercise 3. Jaw protrusion. Push your lower jaw forward. Past your upper teeth, hold the end position briefly. Return and repeat. This activates the lateral pterygoid, a deep jaw muscle that most people have never consciously engaged in their lives. It pulls the mandible forward. It works with the masseter and temporalis to define the lateral jaw, the visible angle of the lower face. 10 repetition, 3 sets, 30-second rest. Together, exercise 2 and 3 activate the complete muscular and ligamentous system of the lower face, the system that chewing used to maintain automatically, the system that modern food made obsolete, and which you are now choosing to restore deliberately, intentionally, with the understanding of why it matters. The cortisol side of the protocol is simpler than you might expect, and it will not be what most people want to hear because it cannot be sold. Walk, not run, not HIIT exercises, not intense training, only walking. 20 to 30 minutes daily outside if possible, without checking your phone, just movement. Consistent physical movement is among the most well-supported behavioral interventions for lowering circulating cortisol in the hours that follow. Not meditation alone, though it has real value. Not supplements alone, though some have supporting evidence. Movement, the physical discharge of a chemical that was designed to fuel physical action. Mental stress paired with physical stillness, that is the combination that ages the face fastest. Mental stress paired with physical movement, that is the antidote. Not glamorous, not marketable. Here is what was actually happening. Years of cortisol produced daily by nervous system that was never given the physical outlet it needed, quietly dismantling the collagen, the connective tissue, the bone density underneath the skin. A platysma muscle, fast-twitch, explosive by design that had never once been deliberately trained, weakening through pure neglect, dropping under gravity because nothing was holding it up. Jaw muscles that modern food made irrelevant, thinning and losing their structural contribution to the lower face that they had maintained for the entirety of human history until now. And an entire industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars, pointing at one layer that was not the source of the problem. The face doesn't age from the outside in, it ages from the inside out, and it cannot be rebuilt from the inside out. 3 exercises, daily movement, the understanding that what you see in the mirror is a readout of what has been happening inside your body for years. That's the entire protocol. Not glamorous, not expensive, just structural. Come back in 2 weeks, drop a comment below telling us what changed. We want to know who is in this community. We want to know what you found. Same face, same body, different understanding, different results. Stay healthy and I will see you in the next video.